The new Bleach opening is here, and with the first episode of the Thousand Year Blood War Arc anime Part 3 dropping tomorrow at the time of recording, well, excitement feels pretty high once again among the community. At the very least, I know I'm really excited to get started on this, on what I think will be a very high quality season. An awful lot of big narrative moments and shifts are going to occur with these upcoming 13 episodes, and I can't wait to see them all brought to life. But what better way to ring in the new season of the Thousand Year Blood War Arc than by checking out the brand new opening, which at the time of recording was released about half an hour ago or so. I haven't seen it yet, I know nothing about it, save for at least a little bit of the song which was in one of the earlier trailers, which I quite enjoyed, and thanks to those early pre-screening leaks and impressions that we looked at a couple of weeks back, at some point in the opening I know that Grimjo chases Askin, which of course I am very looking forward to. I'm hoping that Askin will have a decent presence in this opening, although I don't think the vast majority of his fight will take place in this part, but regardless, that should be a lot of fun to see. Now, to be honest, I've got some lofty expectations going into this opening. Supposedly, this is the opening that made some people cry. I'm not entirely sure how, but either way, that is quite the testimonial. For some context before we start, I know there are only two of them, but my current favourite opening from the Thousand Year Blood War arc is the first opening, Scar. I tend to prefer the more traditional openings where characters are fighting each other and you get some glimpses of the matchups and the plot beats to come. That's not to say I didn't enjoy opening 2 and its artistic change of pace, I did. But for me, Scar is currently the one to beat. Anyway, enough chatter. We are going to watch this opening together right now. I'll be giving my live reaction to my first viewing, then naturally we'll watch it a couple more times over, take it all in, before going through the opening and trying to break it down frame by frame in this same video today. What scenes and events from the story is the opening depicting? What secrets, if any, are hiding within? And is there anything new to pick up on? Either way, let's find out by watching this thing right now. Remember, as always, to let me know down in the comments. What do you think of opening 3? Do you like it? Where does it stack up in comparison to the other Thousand Year Blood War arc openings? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe you're new to the channel or you just haven't subscribed, consider doing so to stay up to date with all of my videos, as it really does help out the channel and I truly do appreciate it so very much. But without any further ado, let's dive right into opening 3. The song is Without Any Words by Six Lounge. Like I said, from what I've heard already, I do quite enjoy it. But here we go, my first viewing of opening 3. I'm really excited to see what this looks like. Here we go. I do love the opening to this song. That gigantic, ghostly, starry Yuha arm, I think it was, is interesting. The transition from Yuha to Ichigo is very cool, from the Varvelt throne room that was. Of course, immediately striking, standing out to me straight away, is the colour scheme. This is also very spoilerific. But I do love the prominence of Ukitake right there. Of course, he totally deserves it. Same for Kyoraku as well. I love this colour scheme. It's monotone, it's grayscale, save for flashes, droplets of brilliant gleaming colour every now and then in characters' eyes and stuff like that, accentuating some of the detail, basically. Very nice. Aizen wouldn't be an opening without some characters running. I really like this so far. Is this going to be Uryu versus Ichigo again now? Yeah. Teasing it once again. Askin running away from Grimjo, there we go. Basby versus Hashwolf. Wow, this is really spoilerific. That is incredible. That Nanao shot with Shinken Hakyoken is probably my favourite shot of the entire opening so far. That was beautiful. Is that Renji? Uryu's eyes being involved once again? There's quite a lot. There's actually quite a lot to talk about here, which is good. Gets a good Juji show to end. Soul King, cool. Oh, so that's what the starry Yuha arc was reaching for. Creepy Eldritch Yuha arc to end things off. Wow, okay. A lot to take in. Immediate initial thoughts. I love the song. I think it is a beautiful opening. So I think that colour scheme was first used in the 20th anniversary of Bleach animation artwork that we saw, featuring Ichigo and some of his old arch enemies. So that was really cool. That's like a nice bit of foreshadowing for what this opening turned out to be. I love the whole everyone is in this kind of monochrome, grayscale appearance, save for their eyes that are like gleaming like precious gems almost against the backdrop of the kind of darkness and the grey. Very, very cool. There is quite a lot to talk about. It is very spoilery. If you're an anime-only viewer, I think there's obviously some bits in it that you won't really understand anyway, but I do actually think there's probably some parts that are quite spoilery regardless. So my first instinct is to compare this opening to something like opening 12, which showcased basically every upcoming fight in the Fate Karakura Town arc. This feels very similar to that. It is more similar in tone and in what it showcases to opening 1, Scar, than it is to opening 2, Stars. So in that sense, I'm a big fan of this opening. Anyway, let's play it again. That image of Yhwach reaching for the Soul King now, that's really awesome. His godly ambition reflected in the very stars of themselves. That's cool. Ichibei, we have a lot of things again here that are basically teasing major events and story beats to come. Love seeing Ukitake at the front there. That shot of the blood-red Mimihagi bursting off his back is really awesome. So, of course, this is cool as well, showcasing the gathering of the Shinigami inside their stronghold as they gather the orbs to get to the royal palace. Tiny little flash there of young Hashwolf and Basby. Of course, you've got to see Aizen at some point. He's not in it quite as much as maybe I thought, but as I said previously, he actually doesn't do that much in this. He won't do that much in this season, I don't think. Ichigo versus Uryu, again, I think we've already speculated from some of the earlier trailers they will actually have a fight this time, which is very exciting. I love that. I mean, this just looks so beautiful is the main thing. That shot there of Nanao turning Shinken Hakyoken and it just gleaming all the colours of the rainbow is one of the most amazing shots I think I've ever seen in a Bleach opening. That is an intriguing section. What is going on with Renji? Ending with Ichigo using Getsuga Jujusho. Again, I speculated in my last trailer review that Ichigo was using Getsuga Jujusho for a second time, and it looks like that is likely. And then ending with Eldritch Yhwach. I'm really impressed. I'm very happy to say that I actually love this opening. Obviously recency bias, but could this be my favourite 1000 Year Blood War arc opening? Maybe. I never felt that way about Stars. And again, don't get me wrong, I love Stars. I love the way it puts the characters in their kind of casual clothes and stuff like that. But to me, it was never as strong an opening as Scar. But this, without any words, is way more up my alley. I'm going to run it through just one more time. What a cool, contextually weird way to start. I love that. That opening guitar as well is so good. So there is a lot going on here that's basically depicting the entirety of Part 3. Of course, Kyoraku approaching Aizen's seals is very cool. That shot of Renji is from the cover of Volume 73, which is neat. There does seem to be a weird amount of Renji prominence, and we'll discuss why that's weird in a minute. Uryu getting obviously a cool moment there. The glimpses of the Schutzstaffel is really neat. I think that's the only time you see Gerard, which is interesting. Now, I'm not expecting Gerard's fight to be in this at all. Askin running from Grimjo is very cool. That little sequence of Basby igniting Burner Finger 4 and then clashing with Hashwolf is perhaps one of the best looking sequences in the entire thing. Mayuri's post-sunsuit design getting spoiled there. What is this? This bit where it's Renji like dying or something? I mean, he's using bankai again, Sora Zabimaru, which again, in the last trailer, we saw him using, and he doesn't do that in the source material. I love that going through the Soul King. You see the Soul King, he turns into a star that Yhwach is reaching for. I'm a big fan of this, I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of this, and it gets me really, really excited for Part 3. Yeah, awesome. Awesome stuff. So there's nothing else to it really now. We may as well go through it slowly but surely and try and pick out everything we can. This is always my favourite part, so yeah, here we go. Let's see what this opening is hiding for us. I'm very excited. So, immediately it starts out with, obviously, this shot of the cosmos, of space, and there is a brilliant star kind of gleaming in the center, this ghostly apparition of what you can already tell it's Yhwach's arm based on the outfit, is reaching for this star. Now, initially you might think, oh, this is just depicting Yhwach wanting to kind of be God, almost wanting to, that's where his ambition lies. But there's a nice little twist actually at the end of the trailer, which I think is really cool. And as he grabs the star, you get like the sort of the Quincy cross effect almost, which again is really nice. Which then transitions into the Almighty, and then as we kind of pull away, we see Yhwach sitting on his throne in Varvelt. Now this is in the final fortress he gains. What's interesting here, and what I picked up on immediately at the start of my first watch, is the fact that Yhwach doesn't, in this shot, have the essence of the Soul King attached to his face. You know, the black ooze that's running down his face, the massive eyes bubbling and popping. When you see him on this throne in Varvelt, that is how he looks. So I wonder if this is just done for the opening so we can see the Almighty better, or could they be toning down just how much that power is oozing all over Yhwach? Maybe we'll see him looking like normal Yhwach a little more often. I certainly wouldn't say no to that. But I think it's probably just for the opening. They want to show the big boss actually looking relatively normal at the start. Very imposing. I love the blood red of the kind of Varvelt flag that's hanging behind him. It also kind of looks like a sword, which I think is a nice little detail as well. That then transitions, of course, to Ichigo. I think this shot of Ichigo, I don't think it's necessarily anything in particular. It could be the shot of him when he first arrives in the Soul King's throne room early on in this part, but it also kind of looks like when he arrives in Yhwach's throne room in Varvelt, which I don't think would happen in this part at all. That's the prelude to the final battle itself. I think it's just a cool shot of Ichigo, basically, with the gold eyes, which is really nice. This opening looks, by the way, very, very clean. That's one thing I really do like about it. It looks very stylish, very sleek, and just really, really beautiful. So initially we've got Ichibei as the first thing we see. His eyes are like a sort of amber or a burnished orange, which I'm surprised by. I thought they would just be red because that's the color his eyes actually are. But presumably this is him activating Futen Taisatsuryo, I believe. This then transitions into a bunch of other major plot beats. I didn't really catch them mostly. So initially right there, you've got now about to use Shinken Hakyoken, Kyoraku also reaching down to grab the blade as well to help her steady herself. Here you've got what I assume is a reference to Baby Hold Your Hand. I think it is a reference to, I want to say the first page of chapter 640, where Nemu wakes up and the first thing she sees is Mayuri's hand, like above her. You see some of his fingers, and presumably this is child Nemu reaching up to Mayuri's hand. So that's what I'm assuming is going on there. That's then followed up, of course, by Ukitake readying Sogyo no Kotowari in preparation for the ritual that summons Mimihagi. Then you have Ichigo grabbing Yhwach's sword, Yhwach's Reiatsu flowing through his hand, which of course results in Ichigo attacking the Soul King. And I love that Ichigo's hand then transitions into Mimihagi, the right arm of the Soul King. That's really, really awesome. The Soul King playing a decently big role in this opening, as you might expect. Followed on then by Ukitake, raising his head, transitioning from the right arm of the Soul King, which again is really cool. Absolutely, I love this image of Mimihagi just erupting from Ukitake's back, essentially, as this almost like magma-esque, brilliant crimson light. It is very, very cool, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Kyoraku making his way to Aizen's seals is very, very cool. Kyoraku lifting his head, the pinwheels. Now, this is a really cool moment because Kyoraku lifting his head, surrounded by darkness, is presumably supposed to be him talking to Aizen in Muken. However, the attention being drawn to the pinwheels is actually a reference to his battle with Leal and the backstory of Kyoraku and how he, as we see him today, kind of came to be. All of that is referenced in the pinwheels being coloured there, which is, again, a really, really nice detail. So after this, we then get to see all of the Shinigami gathered in basically Mayuri's lab as they prepare to head to the royal palace. They're all looking up at the sky, which makes me wonder if it's in reference to the death of the Soul King, them all realising something is going wrong. It could be in reference perhaps to when Yhwach sends that black canopy, all of that massive eyeball monsters down to the Serete far below, or it's just nothing. It could just be them hanging out together. They're all, of course, clutching those orbs, the same orbs that you needed to create to fire in the Kukaku Crane cannon. In this instance, however, the Gotei 13 are essentially charging these orbs to gather enough spirit energy in order to open a gateway between the Soul Society and the Royal Palace. But yeah, I love seeing everyone in here. You've got Byakuya, Rukia, Ikaku, Yumichika, Kenpachi, In the back, you've got Shuhei Hisagi, you've got Nanao, you've got Soifon. Soifon is, yeah, there she is, yeah. You've got Omaida, Soifon, Yushiro Shihoin, Isane Kotetsu, Hinamori, you've got Kione, you've got Sentaro, you've got Shinji. Yeah, basically, I think it's literally every single character that's there, essentially, which is really cool. Then you get the first of what is a little bit weird, the first of a couple of weird scenes. There is a lot of focus on Renji in this opening, and in this part of the story, Renji does basically nothing. So clearly they have plans for this character. In one of the previous trailers, we saw Renji activating bankai, which, as I said, he wouldn't do in this part of the story if they were following it verbatim. So clearly he is having what I would assume is an extended fight scene against Gerard Valkyrie. Maybe he gets really badly messed up or something, which is what we're seeing at the end of this opening. I'm not sure. Like I said, though, this shot of him with, half shirtless, that's from the cover of volume 73. He's like gripping Zabimaru. Something is going on with Renji in this core. I'm not entirely sure what yet. Then we move over to Bazby. He punches the screen, which is really cool. It turns out he's punching a mirror, which fractures and shows presumably his, suffering, his twisted state of mind at the moment. He's not entirely sure what to believe. Obviously, it's leading him into conflict with his former friend, Hashwoth. Speaking of which, we then see him as well. Hashwoth is maybe not as prominent in this opening as I was expecting him to be, but his moment here with Bazby is very, very nice. So you get a brief flash of young Hashwoth and young Bazby from the Friend saga. They flash by very quickly, but you can see young Hashwoth next to Bazby, looking a little bit suspect, to be totally honest. He's looking already like he might be up to no good. Then later on, you see him holding the B button that Bazby gives him, the emblem of the Bazby, of the Bazard Black family. Then there's young Bazby with his cape kind of flowing behind him, which again is really nice. And that then transitions to Hashwoth himself, who then draws his sword. Really, really cool stuff. And then, of course, you have the big man himself, Aizen. He was obviously going to be in it somewhere. He's not in it much. But it's effective enough. I love the purple eye. Of course, Chair Summer is here as well. And as it transitions away from Aizen, you see him using Hado 90 Kuro Hitsugi to kind of close out this scene, which is very, very cool. And, essentially alluding to what is going to be Aizen's biggest moment in this core. Then, of course, you have Ichigo's group running through Varvelt. Ichigo, Orihime, Chad, Yoroichi, and Ganju. This is most of those characters' only appearance in the opening, which isn't too surprising, I guess. Characters like Chad, for instance, really don't have a lot to do anymore unless they change that. And I think the implication here, of course, is that they're all running after Uryu. You get that very kind of sinister side-eye shot of Uryu, which looks really, really cool. Then you get a brief flash through of each of the Schutzstaffel members. So there's Askin kind of raising his arms. That looks very similar to the moment during his battle with Kisuke, where he conjures loads more death-dealing poison in the air, essentially, but I don't think it's meant to be referencing that necessarily. Then there's Gerard Valkyrie, then there's Pernida, then there's Leal. Leal's shot is again taken straight from the source material. To be honest, these shots of the Schutzstaffel might all be taken. The Gerard one I'm not immediately sure about. The Pernida one I think is when Mayuri and Kenpachi initially lay eyes on the Sternritter in chapter 635. And the Leal one is also from chapter 635, actually, when he is about to, start taking pot shots. Or maybe not 635. It might be from whenever his fight with Kyoraku is about to begin, actually, I think, which is 640 something, 644, something like that. Either way, that's what that shot's from. We then get the title in the middle here, which is cool, and then it transitions to Uryu versus Ichigo. Surprise, surprise. I do wonder if we're actually going to get it properly this time. I like the cloud effect in the sky behind them. That's really cool. Ichigo deflecting a bunch of arrows from Uryu before swinging, gets a Gotensho at him, which is really, really awesome and does make me excited for a potential battle, again, hopefully between the two of them. Then we get the shot of Askin running from Grimjo, which is really fun to see. That's a really fun inclusion, and is the first look at the 1,000-Year Blood War version of Grimjo. We haven't seen him yet properly, so that's really kind of cool. And it also does include Grimjo's new power-up that was never really explained, but he was able to give himself his Pantera hands, essentially, as he was chasing Askin, so that's a really cool little detail as well. They've included that here. And it's just really cool to see Grimjo again. That's a really nice little sequence they've included in the anime opening. Then we get, like I said a minute ago, one of the most beautiful sequences in the opening. Basby leaping through the air as he activates Burner Finger 4. This is again taken straight from the source material. However, this bit is not, when Basby brings his blade down and clashes with Hashwolf in another beautiful shot that really does look amazing. The bright orange and yellow glow of the embers of Burner Finger 4, maybe implying a slightly longer, slightly extended fight between Basby and Hashwolf. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe not. It could just be a flourish for the opening. But either way, it looks fantastic. It's really nice stuff. Then there's Leal blasting Kyoraku as Kyoraku kind of darts around him. Presumably this is only a shadow of Kyoraku's. Another nice little detail about this part is that Leal's gun, Diagram, is missing its sniper rifle style barrel. He's almost firing it like a machine gun or something, or an automatic weapon. And so that means that this is after the fight has already begun, after Kyoraku arrives and cuts off the end of that barrel, when Leal transforms the gun. However, in the source material, Leal does actually transform the gun. He brings out a new barrel that enables him to fire it slightly differently. But here he's just kind of firing bullets from the furry part of the gun, which is kind of weird, but an interesting detail nonetheless. But then Kyoraku, of course, appears from the darkness behind Leal and attempts to swipe him, which is really, really awesome. Like, that's again another really great little moment there. And also you can see that Kyoraku's pinwheels are still coloured in, which is really nice. I maybe again expected a little more from Kyoraku, because obviously this is a big core for him. This is probably the biggest core for him in the entire series. I am a little surprised that there is no reference to Kyoraku's bankai in this opening. Obviously, this is his fight with Leal, but there is no reference to his bankai at all, which is interesting, but they're obviously trying to keep some things a little secret, I would assume. However, we then get what is probably my favourite shot of the entire opening, Nanao wielding Shinken Hakyoken as she turns the blade, the mirrors on the ceremonial sword suddenly reflect the light of God, shown here as a brilliant rainbow, which looks absolutely just phenomenal stuff. It really does look absolutely amazing, to be honest. That then transitions to Mayuri. Now this is cool because this is again another moment basically at the end of their fight. A fantastic look at Pernida there as well, towering behind Mayuri. Hand-drawn Pernida as well, I think, which looks fantastic. I love this because you get that great shot of Pernida, but also you get the shot of Mayuri's post-light suit outfit. And then there's a nice moment again, a kind of reference to Baby Hold Your Hand, I think, as Nemu reaches for Mayuri. You see that reflected in her eye. This is, of course, when she realizes that Mayuri might be about to die, so she kind of activates her android killer mode, whatever it's called, and you see her blasting off of the floor towards the shadow of Pernida, leaving the nerves of Pernida behind. It all looks really fantastic, to be honest. But like I said, no real reference to Gerard or any of Gerard's fights whatsoever. It does kind of make me think that maybe this core is still going to end around 655, although I'm not sure about that at all. Now we come to what I think is definitely the most peculiar part of this opening. Now, this could be, I guess, a reference to Gerard's fight, because it is kind of in the right place, I suppose. But it's Renji, and I don't know what is going on here. Like, there is, like, fire and lightning exploding around him. He is in Bankai, he's in Sou Zabimaru, again, highlighting the fact that he is going to use it. He's reaching up, lifting his hand out, almost as if to try and prevent something, or he's about to fire a Kido Blast, I don't know. But then, of course, his Bankai arm does the exact same thing. So, what is going on here? Then it transitions to Renji no longer in Bankai, but screaming, crying out, blood running down his face. It really makes me wonder if maybe Renji is in for a bumpy ride in this core that he wasn't in the source material. I have no idea what that's all about. It feels weird that they would highlight it, especially after showcasing all the battles like that. So I would definitely keep your eyes on Renji in this core. I think something interesting is likely to be happening with him. Then we see Uryu opening his eyes doing that crackling effect again. Something with Uryu's eyes is important here. The blue vein seemingly activating within his eyes is fascinating to me. And yeah, I'm very, very intrigued to see what that's all about. Then finally, Ichigo draws his blade across the screen to bring forth the first part of Getsuga Jujisho. This looks absolutely beautiful. Like, I cannot emphasize it enough. The brilliant gold, the sparks, the embers all flying off of it, then reflected in Ichigo's eyes is absolutely stunning. And he brings down his blade and activates Getsuga Jujisho. I do wonder if that is a follow-on from the initial part with Ichigo at the start where he was fighting Uryu, so maybe he uses Jujisho against Uryu, I'm not entirely sure. Also, just as Ichigo's Getsuga Jujisho pops off here, you can see what looks like a weird smoke-like mass erupting from it, but only if you're pausing the frames like I am. And it kind of looks to me a little bit like the eyeball monsters that form Ryo's surplus power. I could just be seeing things in the clouds and the smoke, but that is kind of what it looks like to me right now. But there's a lot of really cool imagery in this trailer. You know, the kind of cross of Getsuga Jujisho now transitioning into the Soul King's eye is really awesome. Again, so cool to see the opening end with Ryo. This will probably be the only opening he's in. I don't think he was in any of the previous ones, so it's really, really awesome to see him represented here in some way, shape, or form. And it's actually, I think, the closest look we've had at Ryo so far, which is, yeah, really, really cool. I don't think there are any secrets or anything necessarily hiding here. It kind of looks like, I think it's just the, like the overlay effect of the kind of crystal that he's in, but it kind of looks like there is something here, almost like a tally chart or something like that. And I don't know, I think I'm just sort of seeing things perhaps. But I think it's probably just the kind of crystal detailing over the Soul King's cocoon. But then it turns out that the Soul King's cocoon is in fact the star that Yhwach is reaching for at the start of the opening. Nice and cyclical, and a really, really cool, just a really, really cool piece of imagery. And he kind of crushes it at the end and snuffs out the light of the universe in that final moment, which then I think is what plunges this opening into the monochromatic style. So that's really, really, really cool. And then at the very end, you get this shot of Yhwach looking creepy as hell, grinning as his face is covered in the Soul King's mask of power, the weird eyes surging and looking just creepy as hell, eldritch as hell on Yhwach's face. Now, this shot of him is taken from chapter 626 when he notes that this is what it feels like to be overflowing with power. The first chapter, he has this new look. So yeah, really, really cool. Ending on an ominous note, I think. Overall, the idea of Yhwach reaching for the Soul King, crushing him, snuffing out the light of the world, and that being shown in the black, white, and grey nature of this opening, ending with this visage of Yhwach looking terrifying. I think the overall theme and tone of this opening is that the bad guys have won, and that is essentially what happens in this part of the story. Yhwach takes over the royal palace, he conquers it, turns it into his own fortress, and begins preparations to remake the world, essentially. So this is the opening where the villains are on top. They have won, and I think that's really cool. I think that's really nicely conveyed by all the choices made here with this opening. So yeah, I am a really, really big fan. I think they did an excellent job. I do wonder as well, actually, taking the opening back to the start briefly, to all this talk about how it's supposed to be showcasing that the villains have won, all that sort of thing. I think it's actually supposed to be Yhwach seeing the future, as of course he talks in his battle with Ichigo about seeing grains of sand. So maybe that's not what this is at the start. Maybe it's not space, it's not the cosmos, it's supposed to be representative of those grains of sand. Each one Yhwach can see and can influence, and this is him reaching out and influencing that future, making it the one where he wins. And then we go through his eyes, we see it through the Almighty, we see everything that's about to play out. He can already see it. And maybe that's what's happening? I'm not entirely sure. I think that would make sense, that the Almighty would have a big, big part to play in this opening, and you know, what bigger part is there to play than already seeing the opening play out via the Almighty? I think that's a really cool, potentially really cool artistic choice. That could be what's happening here. I'm not necessarily convinced by the idea that these are grains of sand, and it's not just the fact that Yhwach's kind of godly ambition is reaching out to the Soul King. Actually, it could be either. To be honest, it could be either. The idea that this ethereal version of Yhwach is picking and choosing his futures, selecting the futures, would make a lot of sense, and it does fit with the monologue that he gives Ichigo during their battle. So yeah, I think that could be what's happening here as well. But regardless, I love the direction they chose to go with this particular opening. It all comes down to this idea that Yuha Buck is in complete control and that he has won. At the moment, he is the current victor of the arc, where the arc currently stands. But I think that's really it for this video, guys. I don't think there's too much more else to go through. If I missed anything, do please let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this opening as well. In detail, let me know what your favourite shot is, what your favourite scene is. My favourite shot probably has to be that one of Nanao turning Shinken Hakyoken. It is absolutely beautiful, but there are loads of good shots. I think this is one of the most artistically stunning openings they have ever made, and I'm walking away from this an extremely happy Bleach fan. But yeah, that's it from me, I think, guys, until tomorrow, where, of course, I will be dropping my live reaction to episode 27 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Make sure you're there for that. I can't wait. I am very, very excited. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of the opening? Where does it rank in comparison to the other Bleach openings for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, I want to end the video by saying a massive thank you and giving a huge shout out to my wonderful supporters over on Patreon, without who I simply wouldn't be able to do this. So I really do appreciate your help and your support. If you like what I do here over on YouTube and you also want to take your support from me over there another step further, thank you very much. And by doing so, by visiting my Patreon, you can support me at the $1 tier a month to get your name in the credits of every single video just like this. And by supporting me at the $2 tier or higher, you can get every video I release absolutely free of baked-in YouTube ads. All right, everyone, but that's it from me for today. Thank you so much for watching. Only one day to go, and then we are back in business. All right, guys, but until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.